Alright, good evening everybody. How we all doing tonight? Hopefully everybody's having a good week as we kind of progress through these Ides of March, which is exactly what today is, March 15th. I know I am ready for a few days off work that are coming up, so I get to go take a little trip and get out of town for a little bit. But before I do that, I got some model work I want to do because I've been busy, and honestly, I'm leaving for a trip. My print shop printers are getting turned off. So, having some fun, but we're going to take some fails and make them into something awesome tonight. That's my goal. So I've had a few prints just not work out, not do well, and I want to make them into something a little bit better, but at the same time, we'll try to hopefully get some painting done tonight too, like those that need finishing and done off my table. We'll try to get to those. We'll talk about some paints. We'll talk about some 3D print materials, some fix-it materials. We're even going to mix and mash, hopefully, some resin material in with some FDM material. So, got a lot of interesting stuff we're going to try for tonight. So, yeah. Oh, is that the one I want to start with? So, kind of some of the stuff I've been working on. If anybody watches Star Trek, you know what this one is. This is the Oberth class ship that famously just gets obliterated all the time. And unfortunately for this little one, the saucer section just did not print properly, and neither did the front of the work nacelles. So we're going to go to a battle damaged look and kind of rip this guy up with some tools here on the table and kind of take you through a process of taking some failed prints and making them into something awesome is kind of the plan. And I plan on starting with this Oberth first. Because it's white, the brightness kind of plays with it. So we will try that, see if it's a little better. But basically, a lot of times you either see these ships just get totally annihilated, or, you know, like the front half of it's like gone. And that's what we're going to do, because the back half of this actually printed really, really well. This front saucer on the front of the warp nacelles here did not. So we're going to chunk this guy up and make it look like it's been hit by raiders or something fun. And for most of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Monvict MC180 side cutters. These things are beasts. And I'll put a link down in the description. These are only like $8 or $9. But they are really just beasts at tearing up 3D prints. I use them a lot when I get support off models and stuff like that. So we're going to take this guy and we're just going to start. Sometimes you got to use quite a bit of pressure. We're just going to start chunking away at the front of it here. And the cool part is it doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going for battle damaged and torn up look. Ugh. And this is a fun way to take damaged, basically even just not even damaged, just incomplete prints, and turn them into something fun. I don't even know where that piece went. And what's kind of cool is, depending on how you do your infill, the honeycombing can actually play to our advantage too of battle damage, because those, we can actually make that look like it's the actual decks in the ship. So kind of a lot of fun we can have here with this. Oh. As we kind of just rip the bad front off of it. And you don't even have to be precise in your cuts. Even if you just kind of rip it out a little bit, you know, it gives this really nice look of torn up, which can be a lot of fun. And of course, the jaggedness and all that kind of stuff plays to our advantage here as we go for the battle damaged look. So hopefully everybody out there is having a good Tuesday. As I said, things can always be better, or they can always be worse. For this poor little print, it's going to get a lot worse. But like I said, this print is so small that it printed basically I went to bed and it printed. And so there was no way for me to see the print going wrong or anything like that to stop it and try to not print a whole wasteful model. And honestly, I know there's products out there like Dr. Spaghetti and stuff like that that would have been like, oh, this model, that will actually shut off a model that's not printing properly. Well, unfortunately, Dr. Spaghetti would have not said two things about this one being wrong because it looks right. But unfortunately for it, it's not right. So, and here I am with a model that honestly I can do some cool stuff with in a different way. And that's what we're going to do. Because the cool thing about battle damage is it's how we want it to look. A little bit of pull back, pry back, all that kind of stuff. All plays to our advantage in making this thing look distressed and open a space. So big cuts, little cuts, it all works out for us. Just trying to kind of, right now I'm looking for the jaggedness. That's what I'm after. And this one's wall layers are probably a little thin to give me what I'm really trying to achieve. But it's coming along. And that's what happens is I keep getting peels at the wall layers. That's not what I want. So I need to resort to smaller clips. I'm basically trying to cut too big into it. And we need to start making damage down here. We're going to do some stuff with a failed resin print here next. We're going to turn it into a tool rack. Oh yeah, there's some prime damage. As we get into the chunks of this and start ripping out sections. But what we'll do is, so I don't throw a lot of stuff away. One of the things I've kept is these are supports from resin prints. Now I went ahead and pulled most of them apart and I cured them, but not a whole bunch. So I've still got flexibility in them, but they're not raw resin. And they've been cleaned. So basically what we're going to do is in some of these damage sections, we can actually take parts of this and make basically the girder sections of the ships and make it look, like this was actual just ripped apart and not just cut apart by my handy snippers here. So now granted, am I giving, that was not exactly what I wanted, but it'll work. Am I giving this poor old berth the death it deserves? Probably not. But, it is kind of fun. And you can do some of this faster. You can come in here with a Dremel cutting bit. Now, a lot of what that's going to do is it's actually going to melt instead of actually cutting it. But you can do some of the scoring and stuff like that to make that look more into your favor. So, and of course, be careful. Don't cut yourself when you're doing this. You're creating jagged edges. So some people, depending on how strong your hands are, you may want to actually wear gloves when you do this. I've got so many cuts on my hands, I just don't care anymore. So, this is kind of one of those things. It's just something that goes on. But basically, I'm just making this poor thing that was a failed print into the start of something fun, I'm hoping. Because there are several Star Trek The Next Generation episodes where they just find these poor little things just smacked into a rock or actually part of a rock. Wesley Crusher throws one into a rock, I think in one of the early episodes, to save themselves. These poor little bursts are just kind of the death traps of the Federation. So, because they're not built like the Galaxy class starships. These are built for research and development. Oftentimes have technology from future ships that are the test beds, but basically I'm having no remorse in what I'm doing right now, because basically I'm just trying to make this into something. In a way, I'm kind of kit bashing, but I'm not using a model kit. I'm just using a 3D print that didn't pass my quality. Hey Mike, how's it going? So basically that's all I'm doing here is, I didn't feel, and even this one's going to meet the same fate because it messed up here as well. It's just not a good enough model, and I don't feel like I can smooth this because it doesn't have the roundness. It's missing front detail. So it gets I got in a fight with something too big and I'm now a battle damaged starship. Instead of, I think maybe there's 200 grams here. Instead of this hitting the trash heap, I just kind of felt I could turn it into something cooler and make it a Wolf 359. Yeah, this is definitely the red shirt of Federation ships. Totally agree, Mike. And that's why this poor little thing is getting the treatment it's getting. It just didn't survive the printing process the right way. And that's why even just using snippers, you can get some, I'm hoping the camera will somewhat detail, you can get some really cool detail for that honeycombing. And if you kind of pull things and trim things just right, you can actually get some really cool battle damage effects on one of these ships. Actually, one we'll work on here in a little bit later that I've already done it. This poor saucer section failed to print. Well, me, the snippers, and the Dremel had fun earlier, and instead of this whole thing going in a trash heap, it's going to become a heavily damaged. I'm going back to Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode The Emissary, where we're watching the battle with the Borg, and the first thing you see is just an Excelsior class just get its saucer section ripped apart in just a few seconds. Well, mine is not screen accurate by any doubt, but that battle damage is definitely there, and this is a really great example right here where the internal infill creates that damaged decks, destroyed interior look that I just kind of love about this. A lot of the detail in this is going to be in the paint job, which will probably be next week, because one, I'll have to primer it. None of these are primered. These are all raw, straight off the printer prints, but you guys can see just the fact that the honeycombing and stuff like that does create some really cool battle damage in the model. And I'm tempted. I think I'm going to leave this one where it is with just the whole front just torn up. But this poor little guy, he had defects all over the place. Like back here, it had defects. The saucer section had defects. Yeah, this guy's going to look real bad when we're done here in a few minutes. So, kind of just having some fun destroying models tonight. Oh, not usually a destructive person, but it just seems like a lot of fun tonight. Because I just don't have the heart to throw these in the trash can when I can do what I'm doing to it. And honestly, I'm using a ton of brute force because why not? To rip this damage into it. And you know, the cool thing about this is there's not a lot of skill needed here. You can just go to your heart content here on how you want to damage it. Like, I'm going to go through this entire warp pylon because I can. But again, like I said, I just didn't have the heart to throw this thing in the trash. When I can do something different, I'm probably pretty cool with it. Now granted, do I have a lot of plastic debris over here? Yeah. But I'll tell you what I do with that debris. It goes in a bin. And does anybody here do planting or anything like that? Flower pots and stuff. The cool thing you can do with that debris is it's great bottom filler. Yes, it will compress over time, but it's a great way to fill in underneath the soil of a pot plant, of a potted plant. Not a pot plant. I don't condone pot. Not a thing for me. But, oh, come on, tear up. But basically, you know, this poor little ship ran afoul of an enemy or something. Don't rip that way. I don't want that ripped back like that. There we go. But the infill gives you a really cool kind of framework to create, just to play off of the decks and stuff like that. And when I get ready here, we'll start taking that resin supports. Oh, there we go. And we'll recycle that into here, help creating some of the frame structure. Is my hope. Oh, yeah. So satisfying. Disappointing when you see it fail, but so satisfying when you get to tear it up. So what's everybody else been up to out there in the world? Anybody got any good prints going on? Anybody having any printing problems? Oh, if you are, now's a good time to bring them up and let's talk about them. While I try to cut through this poor Oberth class starship that probably doesn't deserve the fate it's getting, but is getting trashed. And these, unfortunately, we won't get these done tonight, but we'll get definitely some preset. So you guys definitely will want to keep into future streams to see how these prospective battle damaged starships come along. But again, as I said in the stream, I just didn't have the heart to throw them away. So they're not horrible, they're just not perfect. So we basically just need to make them into something awesome. And that is the plan here tonight. Well, the start of the plan. There's more I want to do. I want to do some painting, and we've got other models that are not perfect that either we're going to fix tonight or we're going to make them into something else, like we're doing with these. So lots of fun to be had. Yeah. And lots of mess to make, because that's the fun of this. But like Mike said in the chat there, this is definitely the red shirt of the Federation. These poor Oberth class just get annihilated. More than probably what Starfleet would like. Oh wow, nice. Wizard's Fury 30-hour print. Awesome. Those long prints can get scary sometimes. I haven't shown it yet, but we'll be starting to work on a Battlestar Pegasus in an upcoming stream that took 16 days to print it all. And it is massive. So I'm looking forward to bringing that one to the stream, up onto the stream, and working on lighting and stuff like that in it, because that's part of why I printed it so big, was the lighting. But again, what I'm trying to show is just because something failed doesn't mean it goes in the trash can. And this poor little Oberth is showing the signs of its unfortunate end of its Federation service. Oh, but that's the fun of it. That and just that cut in sometimes can be so satisfying after a disappointing print. That you're getting revenge, but you're also making it something beautiful and useful. And that's, to me, that's a win in anybody's book. So, the Spider-Man helmet, just out of curiosity, Wizard's Fury, which Spider-Man? Just kind of the generic, or did you have a specific one you picked? Because with all the different variants from the Spider-Verse and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of options out there for Spider-Man. I've been kind of eyeballing a N7 helmet from Mass Effect. So Wizard's Fury, there's a lot of things you can do for going on a long-term print. Octoprint through a Raspberry Pi, I totally recommend, because then you can put a camera on it and you can actually kind of keep an eye on it while you're not in the room with it, which is kind of a nice thing, because you can keep an eye on it and see if it's going to fail. There's products like Dr. Spaghetti that you can hook in and make sure it's keeping up and have it kind of an automated keep an eye on it. There's all kinds of options to allow and safeguard those longer prints. So lots of cool things you can do with it. Gotta be careful I don't go too far through this one, because I cut completely through the other side. But who knows, this poor little Oberth probably ran afoul of a Romulan battlecruiser. Who knows? We can have a lot of fun with models like this. Just want to get a little bit of more scarring up here, get rid of these straight lines is kind of what I'm after. I mean, come on, this thing exploded. It's not supposed to be clean. But it's kind of one of those things, like I said, even I have failures. And they're disappointing. But I think we've abused these poor little guys enough, don't you? Or should I abuse them more? So the Octoprint setup gives you a lot more than just the smart plugs will. The Octoprint actually gives you an interface to stop the printer, also to record your prints and stuff like that using just a USB webcam. But also you can control temperature, so if you see that your printer's not extruding properly and you want to up the temps, you can do that. There's a lot of cool things that the Octoprint can give you. I definitely recommend using Octoprint. It is a great tool. I'm still looking for a really good way to do the same thing that Octoprint does for my resin printers, but I have not found one that I like yet. So, but the poor Oberths, they're done for a moment. Let's get on to the big project of the day, or the one that I've been waiting to do this. So one thing with what I'm about to do next is, you guys will notice I'm going to put on some safety materials. I'm working with resin, and I'm actually going to be drilling into resin. So I'm just going to be kind of safe a little bit. And also when drilling into resin, you do not want to get resin particulate in your airways or anything. And you want to make sure you keep a good eye on it. And I'm going to wear my gloves just to be safe, even though this has been cured and everything else. I just want to be on the safe side. But this guy, it is a Phase 2 Clone Trooper bust. That failed miserably. As you can see, there shouldn't be this big old gash in his helmet. And no real rhyme or reason why it happened. Reprinted the same, didn't change any settings, just started the printer again, and it came out perfect. 4 other times. This one was the only one, and it was just in the middle that had this problem. But I'm not going to throw this away, because there's a lot of cool stuff that we could do with this guy that I just don't want to throw him away. I know we're all in that I need to upgrade my setup soon because money is just a thing and prices keep going up and then parts are unavailable, and I hear you completely there. That was Riker was an ensign on that ship, but yeah, it was called the Pegasus. That ship got stuck in the asteroid because it had the illegal Federation phasing cloaking device. But basically, what I'm going to do with this guy is, I thought about it for a little bit. I was like, I'd hate to throw it away, and then I was like, oh geez, works great for holding my tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes in his pauldrons. My mold line removers work great just sitting, and my X-Acto knives work great sitting in his head. So I'm going to make him into a tool holder. I'm going to make him into something useful. Now, I thought about the lightsaber damage, but the problem is there's nothing inside. It's hollow, so I can't make like a skull. I probably could take milliput and mold it in there and kind of try to make burnt flesh, but also there's this line where it's shifted that I probably could sand it and make it just fine. But no, I'm going with the tool holder. I thought that was kind of a neat idea. Basically, I'm going to drill some holes in his pauldrons so my paintbrushes can sit in his pauldrons. And I even thought about putting one through his heart to make it look like he's got a bunch of spears through him. Was kind of the idea. So, and there's no wrong way to do this. So this is just primer. This is not paint at all. So I want to drill the holes, probably come back with some more primer, kind of figure out how I want them to look, and then we can paint them up, which is going to be kind of a fun thing, which unfortunately we won't get to paint him tonight either, even though he's got some of his base primer on him. We can at least drill the holes and kind of get the look that we're going for, and I can have it primed next week and we can come back and paint it. But basically, that's what I was working for with this, is just to, I'm going to pull the camera in a little bit. I didn't realize it was that far out. Oh, I can't pull it in. That's as far in as it'll go, but we're just going to start drilling in. I'm going to put a hole in each pauldron, probably a hole right here, and I thought about putting 2 holes right here so they can stand up behind. Well, that's exactly what I'm trying to teach Wizard's Fury, is this whole stream is about, just because it didn't print, don't throw it away. That's the whole point of this stream tonight, is use your imagination and turn it into something else. And that's the whole that's the whole fun of this, is if you're just straight printing something to print it, where's the imagination in it? Grow beyond just the straight models. What can I turn this into? What can I take that pile, my fail box, and turn it into? Like, I'm a big Warhammer fan. I keep a lot of, these chaff that I cut off, these make great debris for dioramas or landscaping or the terrain pieces. It makes great debris and chaff for it. So there's nothing in your print shop that can't find a secondary use. Internal supports that are boxes, great. Those can be pedestal bus stands. You just got to kind of think out of the box and think how you can reuse this. And that's the goal of what I'm doing tonight, is how can we take something that's potentially, pretty much ruined as far as the print as what I was trying to make, and turn it into something cool. So we're going to play with handy dandy power tools now. I mean, just for the fun of it. Because essentially that's what I'm after, Wizard Sphere, is I want to make this into something new, something usable, where people aren't going to be looking at, oh, look, that didn't print right, and da-da-da-da-da. They're going to be looking at, oh, wow, that's really cool how you changed that. I've got a bird of prey sitting downstairs, actually, that I haven't done anything with, but it's a lot of cool things that you can do with this that make this worth doing. Now, I'm going to start drilling some holes, and just, even though I know I've cured it and everything else, I am just going to take my safety precautions, and I'm going to put my nitrate gloves on. I could do that, Mike. Not sure. But the whole fun of 3D printing, tabletop gaming, all this is figuring out how to be creative with it. How to use what you have. Because did any of you guys buy Warhammer, or even just buy the 3D the model kits of these starships? They're not cheap. I remember when I was a kid back in the 1990s, you know, a lot of the model kits cost like $25 and stuff like that, where I go on eBay looking for some of those old model kits and they're like $100 to $200. And it's like, really? But do you have to do what I'm doing with the gloves? It's all that's up to you. I like to be safe, especially with resin. Just to be on the safe side, you know, I'm putting on the gloves, I'm taking my time, and I am going to put on a face mask just to not make sure I'm not breathing in particulate. Glasses are there for my safety. Just in case a resin piece breaks off, I don't want it getting in my eyes, because this stuff can be harmful. So and when drilling with resin, take your time. It is real easy to get this stuff to crack. Alright. Now, you also notice I have this little mat here collecting all the resin dust. That's on purpose. I don't want this resin dust to getting into my normal mat. These little mats, I buy these at Dollar Tree for $1.25. So I have like a stack of them, just to make sure have around the house and keep stuff safe and clean. So just some holes in the shoulder pauldron, and then you can take your paintbrush. Oh, I didn't go big enough for that style. Go big enough for that one? Nope. Oh well. I got smaller paintbrushes. But basically, bada boom, bada bing. The slit in his head, not even going to do anything. Works great for putting my mold line remover and my X-Acto knife in. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this, and turn waste into treasure. I am trying to waller it a little bit, just to. I'll get a bigger drill bit before the next one, but even pins. Well, pen ain't gonna fit, but my pencil will. You know, it makes a great simple storage that we can use. So I'm actually gonna put 2 in his back. liners too. So basically I'm just making holes for paintbrushes to sit in and giving this model new life, which is all we're after today. And I am going to drill one right into the heart because I'm cold murder's man. All right. That way, like, my pencil can sit there real easy and be ready for me. My mold line remover, my paintbrushes sticking up through the helmet. I know I need to just break down and go get a bigger drill bit, but, you know, there we go. So basically, paintbrushes, tools, I turn them into just a really cool tool holder. I can still paint them the way the model needs to be, but also it just kind of makes fails into something to keep and even maybe possibly market for others. So it turns it into a really cool holder. But I do need a bigger drill bit. And actually, I'm going to step away for a second and go get said bigger drill bit and get rid of this resin. Now, kind of one of the things too, you might be asking why I decided to go this route. And that's because over here, behind this TARDIS, is a bunch of paintbrushes just laying on the table that annoy me. And one thing too, when drilling into this, I chose a bit that has a point. That'll give you initial dig in, and then you can go drilling. Hope these fit. All right. Let's make some bigger holes, shall we? And it is chipping the resin a bit, but that's okay. I can fix that in the painting process. But now my paintbrushes actually sit down in him. The brushes that I like to use, they actually sit down in him, and it looks like he's been impaled by a few spears. So the Ewoks got him. There we go. That's what we're going with. Can't change it. It's done. So ooh. That's why you go slow right there. And you wear eye protection because that just shattered. So you can see that pauldron, it just shattered off right there. And I could have easily gone in my eyes or something like that. So that's why protective wear is important. Actually, I'm going to drill into this base for a second and make one more hole. trying to make sure I don't go through my desk here. One thing to keep in mind too, these resin prints are not cheap. They get quite expensive really quick. That's why I did not want to throw this one in the trash. All right, so we've made our holes. This poor stormtrooper has met his match in every way, but he is still of use to the Republic. Or actually, I think I'm gonna go with the pin right there. That brush must be a bit bigger than the others. But basically, he has use as a tool holder. Night, Mike. Have a good one. Good night, Wizard Fury. Hope you have a good one. And this will be available on replay if you guys want to catch it. Alright, well, I'm going to get this resin off my bench and get a little cleaned up here, and we're going to go back to working on other stuff. Another reason why I use the bench that I use is this is easy to wipe up. I'm basically going to wipe off the particulate that I got on the tools from handling them. But it's kind of one of those things, like I'm trying to teach here, just don't let failed prints go in the garbage. They have use. A failed print is only a garbage failed print because of lack of creativity. And you guys can get mad at me for saying it, but in the end, it's the truth. And I try to steer the truth here as much as I can. So we'll let those dry, and we'll get him cleaned up because we got resin material all over him from drilling into the poor guy. But now I probably could have done one straight down into his head, but I have a feeling it would have probably would have snapped if I tried that. So but basically what I'll do is I will give this another coat of primer to, one, just get everything coherent white color. Then next stream we'll go to painting this guy. But he served his Imperium and paid the price. Get the resin dust cleaned up here, and we'll move back to the FDM prints. So let me go get this safety material off. I'll be back in 1 second. Now the rest of the night you guys get to see me with a ring around my face. Saying Knights of Wizardry. Sorry. I just saw Knight and went, oh, you're leaving. So the problem with the resin printer that was giving me the failed prints was, honestly, I never solved it. I think it was a settings issue. I think something just got out of play. but I kind of went through. So my usual diagnosis when I have a printer start messing up for resin land. Okay, now I'm talking specifically resin printing here. First thing I do is drain the FET bay. Clean it with isopropyl alcohol. I strain it when I'm draining it, so any large particulate gets strained away, because it could just be a piece of hardened resin that fell off a print that's stuck in there, causing all this wonderful problem. So that's where I start. Then I'll re-level the printer, because the head can get out of whack. It's not very hard for that to happen. Then oftentimes what I look at, especially if something like Shinto Box has been updated, I will check for firmware on the printer and then update the printer firmware to try to see if maybe that's a problem. It's a problem between Shinto Box and the printer not being on the latest firmware. So that is kind of where I start kind of checking on stuff. I did finally get it working properly after doing all that. Another printer was doing this. You can see it's like chunks out of the print for some reason. No real rhyme or reason. Everything else on the print came fine, but right there, so we're actually going to repair that hopefully. If I get to repair it tonight, I'll repair it tonight. But I don't know if we'll get that far. So, but you know, it's just kind of cool things like even this battle damaged Excelsior. I mean, that is a lot of cool things that we can do with prints. And all just because the saucer section shifted right here, and I couldn't bring it back into alignment by breaking it off and trying to move it. It just looked terrible, so I went with the Battle Wolf 359 method and just chunked her up and made it into some really heavy battle damage. And that's what we were doing to these Oberth class in the beginning, is creating a battle damage effect on them. Now, kind of coming back to that, you guys might notice this resin support sitting here. So I don't throw everything away. I keep pieces that I may find useful on these supports, especially for the resin supports. You guys can see it has a girder look to it. Well, what's something you're going to see on a ship or a plane or a structure that's had the outer walls blown away? You're going to see girders. And that's kind of where I'm going next, is basically these can be kind of shoved in, cleaned up, and be kind of just like blown away girders. And I didn't cure these all the way, so they still have some flex, especially if you heat them up. You can actually get some bend before they'll snap. But basically what I'm thinking about doing is cutting these into smaller pieces and creating the ship infrastructure as best I can with these girders. Because a lot of people, this winds up in the trash can, and that's just not cool when you can reuse them and make them into a lot of other things, especially with, you know, half the saucer section's gone, so there's going to be plenty of way to make that circular thing and flare this out to look damaged before I prime. Now a lot of this is paint is going to create the damaged effect as well. It's not just the model itself in this instance. So that's kind of one of the things. Now with this being resin pieces, to adhere these to the model, I would have to use super glue or epoxy. I can't use my modeling glue. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. But there's a lot of neat things that you can do with these. I mean, how often do I run into it where a warp nacelle doesn't print all the way? More than I'd like to say. And basically a battle damaged diorama, or even what was it Walter Rios said, you know, bring in a bird of prey and have it flying by with this battle damaged hull laying in the background. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, and I did this effect mainly with these MC180s. I did a lot of it, and ironically, a screwdriver just to pop pieces off to give that battle damage look. And I don't really want to go any further on this one because it looks like it's taking a hull hit and then it's taking a broadside. Of course, this would just be drifting at that point. I thought about drilling in some damage into the impulse engine here, but you can get too carried away and lose the essence of the model too, which is why I don't want to go any further, because you can still tell it's a Federation starship. It probably was an Excelsior class, but it's just one of those things. We've kind of taken that creativity and taken something that is, a lot of people would just throw it away, and that's kind of the sad thing. You don't have to just throw it away. You can turn it into some pretty cool effects, because your infill, how you use it, can give you a really good effect like these. It gives the decking of all the decks, the honeycombing, and just turn it into something that's just really kind of pretty in the long run, depending on how you paint. And like I said, these guys, they are just raw. I have to prime them before we can go into painting, so painting for those will be next week. So if you want to see those become more things, definitely stick around. Make sure you're subscribed. And then this guy, I'll do some sanding around these holes to kind of clean them up, make them a little safer, make sure there's no sharp edge. But all in all, got a really cool tool stand, which is this would have been probably almost a $15 piece of junk, because resin is not cheap, and you can see it's hollow, but still a lot goes into one of those. Then I know you guys can see it sitting here in the corner here. This was a for fun project. Doctor Who's TARDIS. It's almost ready to go for priming, but it's the TARDIS with a little then some, because my D&D fans out there and all my dice fans, it's a dice tower. So kind of a cool, fun print. It was in 2 pieces. I still got to fill in the seam line before I can prime it, but we're almost ready to go for priming and painting on this one. So probably be doing a lot of painting on this next week as well. But it's just kind of a simple, fun print for a 20-sided die to go through. This was done, both pieces were done the same time on an Ender 3. So really nice print. Really beautiful model. Getting the support off sucked, but once it's off, it does have a really gorgeous look. I got a little bit to clean up there, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but it did draw blood while getting the support off. But just kind of some of the fun things you can do with 3D printing is just something as simple as that, because that dice tower, someone probably would have paid in a store 30, 40, 50 bucks for that. I printed that for $5. $5, guys. 3D printing can change the way you look at a lot of stuff, especially as the economy and prices keep going up. It becomes a factor where sometimes it's cheaper to make it yourself. Now, granted, getting resin and those supplies right now is not so easy. Costs are going up. I'm not gonna lie, I'm laying in a supply just to have filament and stuff around in case I do need to make something important. But kind of need to start moving through some other of my work before I run out of time today too, because like I said, I am heading out on a trip tomorrow. So kind of one of those things, I got to finish up my work too, because I will be gone for 4.5 days. There's a lot of ways you could deal with these gaps. I'm just going to go with the putty filler. It'll take a few days for it to cure. Then I'll have to come back and sand and smooth again. But all in all, this stuff, the Tamiya filler, does a really good job, the basic putty. I like it a lot. It doesn't cost a whole bunch, but basically it does a great job filling in, especially with resin. It holds really well to the resin. I'm just going to get a Q-tip here and kind of do some smoothing with it. Let's see here. So a lot of times I don't fuse my filament. I have the tool to do it. A lot of time, this is one of the great things about the Octoprint is I can pause a print mid-print. And there's actually a video out on the channel of me doing this. I'll pause it. I'll go in there, pull that filament out, slot a new filament in, and then hit resume, and it just takes off with the new filament spool. That's one thing you can do with spools that are almost empty. Because yeah, I'm actually on a spree with this right now. My enders are what I call my spool finishers. My CR10s and that, they get the brand new spools because they're doing big projects. As you guys can see, a lot of my projects are quite big and use a lot of filament. So they get the fresh spools because they're just the bigger printer. They're my main print line, is my CR10 line. And then my enders will finish off those spools. Now, the other thing I do, and I preach this, the end of the spools. That's where the 3D printing pin's for. And I'm actually done with that guy, so I'm going to set him off to the side. So what I'll do, actually I've got two fighting with each other, is I'll take that end of my spool. That's just not enough to do anything with. And that's where this guy comes in for fusing prints together, doing seam lines, stuff like that, or even actually just printing itty bitty stuff. I mean, you can do it all with the 3D printing print. The Scribe 3D is a really good one because it does fit the 1.75 PLA. This can do PLA or ABS. I'll put a link down in the description for this one, but it can be found out on Amazon. And this is one of my favorite tools. This tool has come in so handy because at times where glue is just a pain in the ass. Oh, I cussed. Oops, sorry guys. Where super glue and epoxy is just a pain, like the Captain America shield. This is how I put it together. Is I sat there and I used this pin. And actually, where did I put? I've already lost a model that I've been working on. Hold on 1 second. I know it's over here. I'm going to bring this girl to the table. And her seam lines right here, because the nacelles failed. And I ripped them off, and I printed a new set of nacelles. And I did put a bead of super glue, but then I came back with the 3D printing pin and fused it. So this 3D Scrib one, Scrib 3D, it's out on Amazon. It's a good one. There's another one that I like, but it does not use the 1.75 filament, the 3D Doodler. I like it because it has the metal nozzles. But these pins run about $60. And they come in real handy because you'll actually go out there and find videos where people, this is all they have. This is what they use. And they do 3D printing and make dolls and different things like that. And this pin is just, it's real easy to use. It heats up. The only thing I don't like, and this model I think has the replaceable nozzles, which I have some for. I had a ceramic tip break on one of my older ones, and I just had to replace the whole pin, which kind of sucked. But the Scrib 3D is actually really good for their nozzles and stuff. So that is one of my favorite tools. Now, this is resin. I could have tried filling that with filament, but I just don't think it would have worked very well. Where instead doing the filler and then coming back with my sander is going to be the ideal situation for this guy. And then once I get him sanded down and smooth, we'll get him primed. You won't even know there was a gap. So the name of the game for him is now sanding, which we all know and love. Sanding can be fun. And if any of you in the comments say you love sanding, you're a masochist. I have a hard time with the sanding. So, and actually, here, let's do this. Let's have some fun. Let's go over here. And I am going to go find a right Amazon tab. All right, let's change the screen so you guys can see what I'm seeing. There we go. So this is the one that I use. And actually, we're going to grab that real quick, and we're going to put that down in the subscription. And actually, it is on sale for $10 off right now. So that is pretty awesome. Links in the chat now. But this is what I'm using most of the time that you guys see. And it comes with filament. It's a really nice pen. It works really well. And you can use your filament that you're buying for your Ender 3 or your CR10 because it's 1.75, which works really well. Now I've got another pen that I like, the 3D Doodler, that has a metallic nozzle, the same brass nozzle your printer uses. It's a lot more expensive. It's $79, but it uses the 2.58 filament. So you'll probably have to get bags of their filament or do what I'm doing, and as you can see over here in my cart, Inland sells a 2.85 spool, which I will just take. I'll buy that and I will just cut lengths off and feed the pen. So that is one option that you can do. A $20 spool is going to be a lot more than what you get in these bags. I'm just going to throw that out right away. Now it came with two or three bags of different filaments, so you can get started right away with the pen. But the Scrib 3D is really worth. If you're just getting started out and looking for a good tool, this one is really nice. So that's kind of my really kind of go-to pen. It works really well. So and seeing it on sale is really nice, actually. So definitely kind of something to keep in mind. Let's hop back over to the building area as we've done our computer time, because I would slice the models normally, but as I said, I'm leaving. So my printers are actually all shut down. It is eerie to walk into my office right now downstairs because all but two printers are off. Everything is shut down, and it is creepy walking in down there because I'm just used to the hum of the printers. But and this one's a new version. You guys have seen me do a Voyager in the past where I actually cut the nacelles off, and the replacement nacelles were white. This is a new one that I've done because that other one got sold and left. And this one is one that I'm working on now as well. I've still got to do the navigational deflector upgrade, print, and stuff like that. But all in all, this one's looking just wowza. I'm really happy with the look that this one is presenting for me. So, oh wow, we're already closing in on 9:30. Look at that, guys. So, anybody got any questions or comments or curiosities or just fun things going on in their printing worlds? Because I know my desk probably looks like it's a mess, which it kind of is, but the Zheng-He, it's still coming along. We're getting more colors into it. I'm going to start bringing some yellows and stuff into the warp nacelles hopefully here in the next week or so. And I need to really start getting her underbelly printed or painted. So, got a lot of ships on the workbench. But, all in all, just kind of that fun. But I think I need to switch over to maybe doing some painting. These guys need to get to their forever home. I've yet to get them to their forever home. So, that's the fun of it. And again, resin printing continues. got a really nice, beautiful 9-inch long Enterprise B that costs about $10 worth of resin, roughly. But if you were to go buy the same ship from Eagle Moss, you're going to spend almost $75. Now, granted, it's painted and looks nice, but, you know, the resin really does give it a really nice print as you go through. Now, doing what I did to this one, doing to resin, that's wearing a respirator, and it's hollow on the inside, so you would have a big opening gap, which you would want to put foam or something in to create the battle damage. But the FDM, the infill, gives that really nice internal decks and all that kind of stuff. And depending on how crazy I go, I could potentially just drill a hole straight up here and drill a hole back and pull in LEDs to kind of, like a T-light LED, to kind of create a fire. Within the hull of oxygen. But it's one of those things, you know, the resin gives a beautiful look. FDM is not that far off if your settings are on par. And FDM, oh boy, you're not even as big as my warp nacelle. So there is kind of a trade-off there between the two. Now, if you're looking for figurines, resin is definitely a go-to easy way to get your figurines. Because, I mean, I even thought about retrying this poor guy. Well, his intact form in resin, but haven't had a chance. Mike, have a good one. We'll see you next week. I will be back for next Tuesday's stream. So definitely kind of a fun one to go. Hope you have a good one. Because where you are, it's what? 10:30, almost 11 something, probably, on your time. So I know you are ahead of me. And, you know, who all here just kind of hated the daylight savings time? Me. Don't like it. Don't take my hour of sleep away. It has just thrown my entire week off. But that's the name of the game for the farmers. So I'm going to try to get the green of this guy's eyes done. Maybe. I think there's water in my cup. Oh, you saw the poor Oberth and all that. Klingons got it. Yeah. All right, now this guy had greenish eyes. And that's what I'm going to try to go for. Pack some of my greens because they are going on the trip with me. Yeah. Give me flack. I'm taking models with me. Of course, I have to. I'd go insane. Nothing like prime time to get to work on a model. So, gonna definitely take advantage of any of the time I can to paint on a model. But hopefully, you guys enjoyed, you know, seeing the kind of ideas you can do with even a failed print and not just throwing it in the trash. That's all I'm really after tonight, is if you take anything away, is that even if it's a failed print, it's not trash. I love these wet palettes, because paint that should be dried up and gone is right there ready for me to use. So I try to get this guy an eyeball. So what's everybody else been doing? We kind of start to come towards the close of the stream here. It's better. He doesn't look so creepy now. He's got eyes now. So I need to bring some darker red highlights into his beard, finish up his eyeballs, and this guy is going to be, I'm calling it quits on him. Still got some work to do on the dark elf buddy here, especially the, matter of fact, I think I'm going to give the elf green eyes too. Just pulling in a little bit of water out of my cup over there. Let's see if I can bead this a little bit. Start creating the look of the eyeball here. That didn't go so well, but we've got green eyes, and that's what matters. Definitely gives them a bit more humanity, and then I can come back and do a little bit of black. These. So a friend of mine went on Forge World and made his characters and asked me to print them. So I printed them. And he asked for a set that were 3 times the size. So that's what we've got. So these are special for him. I'm just doing a little bit of painting on them for him. And then I will be handing these over. So basically I did print these as a set. And that fox needs some eyeballs. So we'll give him some here too. Get rid of that jade. Now, I'm going to try some gray eyes. Basalt gray, to be precise. Got a little bit still here on the palette. Let's try using that. Give him some color of eyes in him. That way I can come back with the marker and give the cornea of the eye. But that kind of sets them off a little bit to definitely make them more of a figurine, which I'll be glad to finish up and take them off the desk. So we're really kind of looking forward to finishing up painting, get him painted up and actually get him holding the tools. So, but that's going to be on the next stream. Hopefully I'll have him finished up and we'll be ready to do that. So put some brass, just some chinks in the axe here a little bit, a little more color. Use up this paint. So but all in all, it's been a good week. I appreciate everybody for showing up to the stream today. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. I do appreciate everybody coming in and saying hi and conversation we have. You guys are all, I love the community we're starting to build here and that we're getting more and more people. I do appreciate that very, very much. So that just kind of gives some more burnished metal look to the axe there, which all looks really good. Really happy with the way some of these are coming out. And I'm one of those, I'll admit, I've gotten frustrated with those models. You feel like things just aren't going the way they should, and it gets a little frustrating. You kind of sit there, don't want to work on them. If you guys have all kind of run into that burnout, give me a holler there in the chat, because I know we all do. At some point, run into that burnout with these with any models that we work on. So we all hit burnout at some point. What do you guys do when you're working on something and get stuck? What do you do to kind of get yourself unstuck out of that bad mojo? Trying to add some highlight to her face. That burnished purple is nice, but it needs some softening. That should soften it up and gives a lot better contour for the different layers of her ears. And I'll have to come in and come in with some bright silver to pull the jewelry out. That's going to look pretty good when it dries. I need to come across and actually do the lips. But that will be for another day, as we kind of keep on working on this stuff. I don't plan on building a Gundam, unfortunately. Got some Necrons I'm planning on working on while I'm out of here, though. So maybe start trying to put some footage together for the actual model channel that's separate of this. But kind of one of those things. We're coming up on time, guys. Unfortunately, we've only got a few minutes left. I didn't get to do as much painting as I like, but hey, that's why you take vacations and plan more time to work, right? So yeah, actually kind of at a finishing point. Drilling the holes in this guy was kind of fun, though. And once I have him primed and we get him some black onto him and some other whites, he will probably be promptly sitting over here holding all my paintbrushes. So, and my tools, instead of them laying all on the table like that. So definitely one of those things. And you know, as fun as building a Gundam is, I'm going to talk about this actually. It drives me nuts. No English translation in the instructions. I built the Easy 8 and there were no translated instructions. I had to do it all by picture and pray. And as much as I want to build the other two to work on that diorama, I just can't bring myself to. I'm getting more stressed out. I'm getting stressed out thinking about it. I'm kind of just getting stressed out even thinking about doing it versus actually doing it. Where's my snips? So kind of just one of those things that's a little scary to even think about. I haven't built a Gundam and I can't remember the last time. It's been a good year since I built a Gundam. Let alone 3D print one. That actually kind of horrifies me a little bit more to even try. Where is my... I don't have an open thing of super glue. Well, I just need to fix that. And guys, just so you know, my super glue, Walmart, or not Walmart, Dollar Tree is where I get my super glue. I do the Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree is good. Why do I feel like you're going to try to explode on me? Don't need any. There. Yep. Slowly. Yes. Slowly. Excellent. Excellent. I don't need a super glue explosion today. And all I'm doing, like I said, these are supports from resin prints. I'm just going to try to create a girder look effect for the battle damage. Because, you know, the girders, it's the main support line of the ship. It should be strong enough to withstand an explosion. I'd hope. And right now I'm cutting them kind of long, but you know, I can easily trim these back. There's nothing that has to be set in stone here. But I'm giving more three-dimensional design to the battle damage. Because what's cool too, like I said, I didn't cure these all the way, so they still have some give. So I can actually still pull that around to give it some look, some battle damage look, which is kind of fun. Or I can snip to just get one thin line and try to give the curve back. But I think for now, part of me wants to just go in, figure out where that's actually going to lie, snip that off, because the cool thing is I don't need this to look perfect. It's battle damage. It's not even battle damage. This ship's destroyed. They're not going to fix this one. We are literally seeing the ship's bones. But basically, we can just keep playing with it to get that really bad damage effect out of it. And I will cut these back quite a ways. But if you're curious to see where my inspiration came from this one, go watch the first 10 minutes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, The Emissary, the first episode. There's a Poor Excelsior class that just gets owned. And that's where I'm kind of modeling this one after. At least with its saucer section damage. So, one of those things, it's kind of fun to work on. Kind of a different change that I can make. And I'm not discarding something that, you know, even though it failed, it doesn't mean I throw it in the trash. Is kind of what all of tonight's been about. Is making these into something that we can still be proud of. So, and like I said, the infill, that gives us a compartment looks. It gives us a lot of neat stuff that we can work with here. And a lot of melted bones. So especially something like that, once we come in with paint, primer, and different things like that, and actually make that ragged looking effect, it is gonna be pretty cool, I think. And then you've got, you know, like here, especially the side damage and the saucer and the warp hole, that infill just looks like those deck cubes, which comes in great. So definitely a fun way to take a fail and turn it into something that looks really, really cool. So, but that is a project to be continued and will be continued. I'm going to do some more work with the battle damage, and then we will bring that. I will hopefully have that primed next week so we can start painting on some battle damage. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified. We do a stream every Tuesday, sometimes extras, who knows. We also have a video that comes out to the channel every Friday. So this week I think we're talking about a specific wash and cure station, which will be fun. And then next week, hopefully, maybe we'll get to, I think next week's video is Batman, but I'm not sure. So that's always subject to change that far out. Hey Douglas, how's it going? Hopefully everything's going good for you. Glad to see you again. Glad you're here. If you guys do want to help out the channel and help keep cool 3D printing stuff going, consider joining the Patreon. Hopefully here in the next couple weeks we will have the YouTube membership up and running with some cool features. So definitely, if you guys want to help support, I'd greatly appreciate the support as we kind of try to take this into something a lot more fun and a lot cooler. So hopefully everybody's having a good night. I am actually getting ready to cut the stream right here because it has been a very long day, and I've got to clean up before I start traveling tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody. You're always welcome to shoot me a comment. If you've got questions, definitely let me know, and we'll try to help you out the best we can. So thank you guys, and we will see you in the next stream and video. See you guys later.